Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're having a good day at work. Thank you so much for taking time off from your busy schedules to join us today for our webinar. My name is Siddharth, or just Sid if that's easier, and I work at Manage Engine as an IT security specialist, and I will be your presenter for today's webinar. So I've planned this session to be a comprehensive walkthrough of Active Directory auditing in about or under 40 minutes. I'm also joined today by our product expert, Bruce, who is going to help me with answering your questions in the Q&A session. So it's great to have you all here. But before we start, I just want to make sure that my audio is clear and you have no issues in viewing my shared screen. So I'm just going to pause for about 10 to 20 seconds. And in case you have any difficulty either with hearing my voice or with viewing my presentation, please let us know on the live chat so we can try and help you fix that. So I hope you have no issues with hearing me or viewing my presentation on your screen. So um, the reason let me tell you first why we're doing this webinar. Well, I've been predominantly dealing with auditing tools like SIEM or SIM solutions, and the reason I wanted to host this particular webinar is because often when we think of threats, we think of them to be external, correct? Because when we think of an attack, we are prone to immediately believe or picture a hacker sitting somewhere or sitting somewhere outside. But the thing is, attacks can very well stem internally from within your organization. Now, that is the harsh reality that there are security threats that can stem from inside, from within your organization. And insider attacks have been on the rise in the last few years and are costing organizations tons and tons of money every year because of not having the right technology and the right tools in place. And what that results in is, of course, is hefty financial penalties due to non-compliance. So you as an administrator have many things to worry about when it comes to keeping internal threats under check, right? So you may very often you may keep hearing about insider attacks in the tech news on tech websites, which might worry you as an administrator, and your management even might want to know if your enterprise is actually secure from such insider threats, and your management might ask you that. And these threats, these insider threats, may be because of a malicious insider, that is someone who has gone rogue for whatever reason, or it could happen due to a theft of privileged users' credentials. And that's really scary because you, as an administrator, know the power of a privileged user account. And that is exactly why also that hackers often try to get hold of those credentials in order to breach your network. The other scenario of insider threats could is that you could have a naive insider, that is someone who's maybe not yet at the level of technology expertise that you need, and this naive insider could perform an action without knowing that they are creating a loophole in your security system. And if this was unchecked, it could well lead to a potential attack, right? So in today's webinar, we will be talking about some important ideas of auditing Active Directory and how our tool, ADAudit Plus, can help you easily solve your Active Directory auditing problems. So your organization might be using Active Directory, which is why you are here today, of course. And I personally think Active Directory is an awesome service, and obviously it must be relied upon you heavily by all of you, right? So, but just as Active Directory is great, there is also a lot of information that people do not know about properly using, managing, and auditing, and most importantly, with today's webinar, auditing Active Directory. Well, for starters, there are modifications made to Windows Server that may have happened without you knowing, because this isn't something that is as fancy as an OS update where a huge deal is made over a particular feature. And because of that, often Active Directory administrators aren't aware about some of the auditing features of Active Directory, right? And if you aren't able to keep track of changes being made in Active Directory, you aren't going to know if something is potentially creating a security loophole and if something is potentially paving the way for a dangerous insider attack. So let's get started and think about this for a moment. You can see three questions on the screen. Think about your answers to these questions. Do you have easy access to important Active Directory audit information? Do you know all about the critical changes happening on Active Directory? And do you struggle with reporting information for compliance audits? Think about this for a moment, ponder about this. How much information about activity on Active Directory do you have easy access to, right? If say today a user had a group membership change to a group with elevated privileges, would you know that? And would you know that in real time is my question. It is a critical change, of course, and one that can potentially compromise your security. So would you have been able to detect this change immediately? Can you tell me with confidence that if such a dangerous change or any other such critical changes happened on your Active Directory objects, would you know about this instantly? And take other things also. For example, take logon activity. Do you have the information about the top users who have failed logons along with the reason for the failure? Things like this. Can you easily pull out that information and tell me if I asked you? So I encourage you to think about this. Think about answering the simple questions that are on the screen. And you can tell us on the live chat even how you feel about auditing Active Directory. Do you feel that you have control with whatever current existing technology that you have? Or do you feel something is lacking? Or have you tried to audit Active Directory and had some roadblock or faced some sort of difficulty? You can share that information with us. And now one of the reasons though why we are stressing on auditing Active Directory is because we were just speaking about internal attacks, which can become very difficult to handle. And the biggest problem is that it can take months. Can you believe it? It can take months to discover that your security was compromised. So imagine how much damage and information the attacker can actually steal during that much time. It is absolutely terrifying, and I'm sure you will agree with me on this. So I encourage you to interact with us on the live chat and truthfully answer the questions that you see on the screen. This will help you take stock of your Active Directory environment. This will help you evaluate your security posture. And I can even share the answers that you send in so that all the attendees can benefit. So keep that also going. You can send us your answers to these questions. You can talk to us about your concerns on the live chat option in the webinar. And coming to my next slide, which is one of my favorite slides that I like sharing in my webinars, especially today in the context of for you Active Directory administrators. You might have, of course, come across this quote from the Spider-Man movies: with great power comes great responsibility. And this is so relevant to the life of administrators, right? I'm sure you can relate to this. With great power comes great responsibility, but also comes tension headaches. This is so true, right? And easily captures the job of an administrator in one picture. So say if someone gets access to your domain admin account, right? Just imagine this. Say if someone gets access to your domain admin account through whatever attack technique. It could be something like some phishing attack. But let's not get into the techniques today. The point is, if someone gets control of your domain admin account, what power do you think they get? Yes, they will get complete control over your Active Directory. they will get control of everything in your IT, of your entire Active Directory environment. An Active Directory, of course, is the core of your internal IT. And with the power of a domain admin, a person, that is the attacker, can play around with all your users and groups, with all your workstations, with your critical servers, and potentially can take down your entire IT infrastructure. So now, even if we weren't earlier on the same page, now I'm sure I have your attention. And you obviously now must be very concerned about real-time auditing of Active Directory. So that is the idea. You need to be able to, what you need to be able to do is detect attacks at an early stage to mitigate them. And the only way you can do this is with the real-time auditing of events and alerting for threats to your security. You need to audit changes to Active Directory in order to achieve this tight security. And when we talk about changes, this could be something like moving users to another group, that is the group membership changing, things like that. You need to track things like that. And basically, you need to track all the important changes being made to Active Directory objects, be it your users, your groups, your computers, group policy, password policy, everything. You need to track all the critical changes being made, and you need to do this in real time if you really want to tighten your security. And this is where the four vital W's comes into the picture. You can see this on the screen: who, which, when, and what. That is, who made the change, which object was changed, when was the change made, and what the new value is versus what the old value was, which is where, of course, you can compare the change of the object. You need to know the changed value, that is what the value is now, versus the value before the change. These are the four vital W's that you need to stay on top of to know exactly what is going on in your Active Directory structure. So let's see how we're actually going to stay on top of these four W's in Active Directory. But first, we need to look at the prerequisites to auditing. That is, you need to know how to configure a couple of things before you can start leveraging the power of auditing. You need to understand the concept of auditing, and more specifically, the concept of advanced auditing and the configuration of the advanced audit policy. Now, this is something, of course, that is available from Windows Server 2008 R2 onwards, which gives you the option of a granular configuration of auditing. Now, what it means is, by default, remember that auditing isn't configured, and if you want to track a particular event, you need to configure auditing on the system to tell the system that it needs to generate log entries for the specified events. But of course, I don't know how many of you today are still using Windows Server 2003, then you wouldn't have this really good feature that Microsoft brought in of advanced auditing. So in the old auditing policy before 2008, you could configure auditing for things like, say, account management or directory server access, but you wouldn't get granular control. You can, if you configure auditing for account management, you'll be auditing every single event under account management, and the same for something like directory service access. But with the advent of advanced audit policy configuration, you get that granular control that you need, and you can go into account management or into directory service access and configure, that is, turn on auditing only for the specific kinds of events that interest you, right? So you get much more control over what you want to track and what you want to audit in your domain controllers. The next thing after configuring the advanced audit policy is that you need to go to your Active Directory users and computers and configure the SACL. So you can specify in the properties exactly what you need to track for that particular object. So after you do these two configurations, that is the advanced auditing in your group policy editor, and then going to your object in Active Directory users and computers and specifying the SAS here. After these two configurations, you will start getting the audit data in your security log. You can go see the events getting logged in your security log. I don't want to spend too much time in getting into these configurations because this information is readily available online. And we even show this in our free online workshop series, which you can watch. You can watch these ADAudit Plus online workshop videos on YouTube as well. But if you do have any questions about configuring advanced auditing and specifying SAS here, you can, of course, ask us during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Right. So now coming to the need of having a special tool, the need for having a real-time auditing tool for Active Directory. So yes, Microsoft did a good job revamping their auditing to bring in a granular advanced auditing option, but your job doesn't end after simply configuring advanced auditing and SAS here. You still need to view and track the audit data. And here is where Microsoft falls short. Here is where Microsoft fails you. Yes, they give you Event Viewer to view the security log, which can be used to track different security events of interest. But have you actually tried using Event Viewer to audit your log data and track important events? Of course, being an administrator, you know what Event Viewer is and you might have used it somewhere or the other. But the problem arises for administrators to track important events and view the audit information that they need without any difficulty on Event Viewer. That's the challenge. Because Event Viewer itself has its own limitations. To start off with, there's a limitation on the security log size, meaning after a threshold is reached, the data gets overwritten, so you might lose important data in your security log. It's a weird feature, really. I don't know why it wasn't thought through properly while they designed this. And you have the other problem, which is each domain controller will have its own security log. So if you have like 10 or 20 domain controllers, you have the challenge of bringing all their log data together or centralizing all of their log data into a single location. But that isn't even the worst part. All in all, it is very, very difficult to analyze events using Event Viewer without an additional tool, that is. Well, you struggle to run reports, you struggle to easily view the audit trail information that you need. And I'm sure you have used Event Viewer for something, definitely being an administrator. So you would know how difficult it is to rely upon to track different important things. And if you want to say generate a report about something to show your auditor, it is going to get really challenging to do that. But in fact, I encourage you to try and do these tasks without a special tool, and this will help you understand the many roadblocks and difficulties that you would face. Try to track in real time each time a user or group gets created or deleted, or each time when policies are changed, when your admin group changes its memberships. Try doing all of this and try pulling out information for your auditors with just Event Viewer. I assure you, it is going to result in a horrible headache for you. And maybe you've already tried and faced these problems using Event Viewer, which is why you are evaluating our tool ADAudit Plus. So the bottom line is you need a special tool to help you tap the audit trail. And let us look at how ADAudit Plus and what it can do for you. So ADAudit Plus is a top-notch real-time auditing and alerting tool for Active Directory. And it's really a must-have for any Active Directory administrator. And I assure you that by just setting it up, which itself is very easy, and starting to use it, you will immediately realize how much in-depth audit information about Active Directory you now get at your fingertips. Because every single important event in Active Directory can be tracked in real time with ADAudit Plus. And with ADAudit Plus, you can easily configure real-time alerts for those events. So you can do a whole bunch of things. You can track unauthorized logons. You can monitor privileged user activity. You can clearly see who changed your GPO configurations, and really track a whole bunch of other critical audit information as well. Because like we've been discussing, these kinds of Active Directory changes are going to directly impact your security, right? And these kind of changes can potentially create gaps or loopholes in your security system. So rather than going more descriptive, let me jump into the tool to show you more, along with how you can use our tool to solve all your auditing problems. So I'm just going to jump into the setup that I have. So the first thing that you will see once you log into ADAudit Plus is the dashboard view. So I hope you've already maybe you have an installation running on your system already, so you can also explore the features along with me. You can also go to our website and look at the online demo of ADAudit Plus, which you can, again, really useful for you to just get a look and feel of the kinds of things you can do with ADAudit Plus. So that'll really help you even evaluate the tool and get a hands-on experience really. So I've logged in, and the first thing I see is the dashboard view of the product. This gives you at an instant overview the clarity on all the important stuff going on in your Active Directory at first glance. So I have put these dashboard widgets that I want to see. I can look at the top user logon failures, the account management details, some more specific on the logon peak hour usage, logged out users, password changes, and more. So all this information is given to me at a single glance. And remember, the solution aggregates data from all of your domain controllers, and what you get to see is a centralized and comprehensive information in one single console. This is the dashboard view, and I'm going to now show you the many categories of reports that you can access. So this is one of the defining features of ADAudit Plus, the huge amount of predefined reports that you get. So I just want to urge you to have a look at the reports. At the end of the webinar, you can, or maybe right now simultaneously, or at the end of the webinar, go to your installation and spend some time on it to understand what all information that you're able to get out of these different reports. So, because you might have struggled in the past, right, for obtaining some audit information about something, and may well be pleasantly surprised after looking at our reports, and you may be like, hey, okay, this tool does exactly what I need. So now we have this whole bunch of category of reports that you can see on the left pane, and within each of these categories, you have many reports that help you track specific things that you might need for your requirement. And what the best part about all of these reports are that they're predefined. This means that you don't need any additional configuration in order to run these reports or anything of that sort. You get all this data out of the box with ADAudit Plus. So that makes things really neat and pretty easy for you, right? So the first so let me tell you what reports we actually have. So you can see the first we have a few categories of reports for tracking log on, log off, and then you have general account management related reports, and then more specifically for the user management, group management, computer and OU management, and of course the GPO management, and specifically more for advanced GPO management. And you've got other AD object changes like password settings and so on. You've got permission changes, you've got DNS, removable storage, and really any other important change that you might want to track. It would be covered somewhere in the predefined reports. So this is why I kept saying and I'm trying to push you to look at, download the product and check in your installation what are the different reports that you can get access to, or you could even go to our website and try the online demo, because really there's a lot of reports, over 100 predefined reports, and there might be information in it which will clearly solve a particular requirement that you might have in your IT. So the first two categories, let's look at a few reports. The first two categories of reports are for log on activity. And log on, log off activity is of course something that is very important to track. And this audit information is important for different compliance regulations and even for your internal IT policies maybe. So what, yes, we have a lot of log on reports. You can see two sets of detailed reports, but we actually go one step further with this for log on activity with what we call aggregate reports. So you can see this right here. I have aggregate reports, and with aggregate reports, you can easily view and pull out information for a longer time frame of events and do an easy drill down of in-depth details for those events. So let me show you. So I have account logons, and I've got a bunch of information for logon failures. So I can click that, and immediately I get the reasons for these failures, right? In just one click, that information is already linked with this in the back end of the tool. So if you just click on the logon failures, you immediately get the details for the logon failures in a neat graph. You can also view this, like you can view the top users who are having logon failures. So I've just simulated some data so that I can show you that in this setup. And you can also view the reasons for the logon failure, say. So you can account disabled, bad username, the account is currently disabled, bad password. All this information is linked at the back end of the tool. So you just saw how in 2 clicks, I could see all the logon failures, get the information, and whoever may be asking for this information, I can easily give that report to them. And I can also drill down that report to more in-depth data in just a couple of clicks. So you can see how easy it becomes to track logon activity and how easy it is to pull out the information that you need, whether it is for some internal policy, some internal requirement, or for your auditors as well. But let me show you more. Let me come back to the reports section. This was, of course, for tracking your log on, log off activity, in-depth information in just at your fingertips in just a couple of clicks. So coming back though to the report categories, let us look at, say, under account management, let me look at, say, all AD changes, right? So I'm going to click on this report, and now I get all the data. And here, if you can relate to what we saw a few slides earlier on the 4 vital W's: who, where, when, and what, right? I'm showing this to you now because I want to show you how easy it is for you to access the information that you are looking for and easily pull it out from the tool, like just effortlessly get all the information. So I've chosen a report where I can track all the AD changes, and these reports are so intuitive to you. So for example, you can see I've got the table where it says the object type. So I have things like groups and users. Say I just want the information for object type equals user. I can use the advanced search. I can just choose object type is, I'm going to type user, and that's it. I've got the information instantly. Now I have all the modified actions for different users, which is my object type. That's it. Simple one-click query search, and I have that information, right? So you can also get this information very easily for a particular period of time. So currently I'm searching for the last 24 hours, but of course I can change that to the last 6 hours or 12 hours, or I can even go for a custom range. So maybe I want to see all the modified users last week. It's simple. I just build that custom range, click on apply, and in a couple of seconds, I have that data as well. So you can, once you get this data in your report, in the predefined report, remember it requires no additional configuration from your side. Once you have this data, you can easily export the report. You can see this. I can export it as a CSV, as a PDF, as an Excel file, as a HTML, whatever. I can easily extract this information into a report. And if, say, an auditor is asking me for specific information, I just need to go to that report and pull out the information for that particular time frame. And you just saw how easy it is to do that. So this is, of course, the export option, which you can use to finally get the report that you need in a PDF or CSV or whatever. And this is again really where having a tool like ADAudit Plus helps you greatly, as opposed to doing the same task using something like a PowerShell approach, right? So because that is going to be incredibly painful each time you want to pull out some information, you'll have to go and type some script and then get this information, and then you have to put it into a PDF file or something like that. But with a tool like ADAudit Plus, you can get the information easily in a matter of clicks. So what I just showed you now, maybe you can try doing it using without a tool with just Event Viewer and PowerShell, and you will immediately understand the problems that you would face. And I think maybe you've probably faced the problem, which is why you're looking at a tool to do this for you. So let us look at something else. Let us look at a use case for tracking privileged user accesses. So under account management, let me take this report called administrative user actions. So I'm just waiting for the data to load for the last 30 days. So here in this report, I can view for a particular administrator, a privileged user, I can view all the actions or modifications that they have made to Active Directory, right? So I can see the modifications they have made with regards to user management, computer management, group management, OU management, and GPO management. Easily accessible information. So I've just picked an administrator here called administrator, but you can really select any object that is any administrator that you want to track. And if someone is asking you for this information, all right, for some compliance or for some internal audit, you can very easily go here, change the time period that you need, and easily get the information about the actions performed by a particular administrator. And you can check this. So you can easily view just the modifications made for users or for computers and so on. So this is where you get all the information in this table that you see right here. I showed you how you can do an advanced search very easily to pull out more specific information for, say, maybe a specific username or specific domain controller or something like that. And you can also, you have this option saying add or remove columns, right? So we by default show a bunch of information in the table, but there is more information that is available to you. So if maybe you want the SID or you want an event code or something of that sort, you can just easily check that box, and that information will also appear in your report. So you have all the data, you can easily pull it out. If someone asks you for some information, if you need some information about Active Directory, you can go to the report, filter out the information that you need, and export it. All this in a matter of clicks. Information really that is there and accessible for you. So that was with the reports, and this was, of course, for tracking privileged user actions. But yes, reports are really important. But let me show you the other powerful feature of ADAudit Plus apart from the reports, which is the real-time alerting console. Again, I want you to look into all of this in detail. Maybe spend an hour or even a couple of hours at the end of the webinar on the tool, on your installation, or even the online demo really, which And I want you to look at all the predefined reports, right? Now, apart from the reports, you need alerts for critical security configurations and changes made in Active Directory. That is the ultimate goal. And with ADAudit Plus, it's really easy to set up the alerts for Active Directory changes. So let me just show you how to do that by setting up an alert profile to be alerted for escalation of privilege. That is a group modification. So I'm just going to jump to the alerts tab of the product. You can see a very neat alert dashboard right here. And I'm just going to go and show you very quickly how to configure an alert profile for something. So let me just give a name for the alert profile. I'm just going to call it escalation of privilege. Some description, just leave that up to you. You can choose a severity for the alert. It could be attention, trouble, or critical. So this could be maybe a critical event for me. And then really you need to choose for what you want the alert for. And I showed you we have a bunch of exhaustive predefined reports. And the good news is for each of those reports, you can associate an alert for it, right? So some events you might just be happy looking at the audit report for the information that you need. But for some of those reports, for those events, you might want a real-time alert. So that's why you can configure an alert profile where you're essentially just associating an alert for one of the reports that the product offers you. So I'm just going to go click on the plus button and I can choose one of the categories of the reports. So I'm going to choose, say, group modification in this case. And so I can see all the reports under group modification. So let me choose modified admin groups and modified security groups for this particular alert profile. I click OK, and now I've got the criteria for my alert, right? I've got the criteria for my alert profile. I've associated an alert for these reports, which is modified admin groups and modified security groups. I can type in some alert message right here. And I also have a really robust feature, which is the advanced configuration of alert, where I can choose alerts or configure thresholds. I can configure the alert for a particular user. So let me just show you. If I go for user-based alert, I can So if I go to user-based alert, I can just go and pick a particular service account. Let me just maybe choose these two for the demo. So I can choose these two accounts, and if any of these specified users modified the specified group, I can get a real-time alert for a specific user-based alert for these users. So I can also configure business R alerts, or really any filter here I can make for my alert profile in order to reduce the alert noise. So you can see how easy it is for me to configure an alert. I have predefined alerts. I've chosen that. I've chosen specifically for which user I want the alert to be triggered. I can choose the email notification, just simply configure the mail server and the email ID to which I want the alert to be sent. And I can also execute a script like a VB script or something of that sort to take action to remediate the alert in real time. So that really is how simple it is for me to configure an alert to be alerted in real time for a specific security use case, right? I have all the reports easily accessible to pull out information that someone, say an auditor, is asking me. And I also have the ability to configure an alert so that I can be alerted for a specific security event that concerns me, for an important critical change like the escalation of privileges. So if you've got these alerts set up for, which essentially is of course associated to the reports. So if you've got these alerts correctly set up, then it is easy to do for you to just sit back with ADAudit Plus and wait to see if any alert gets triggered, and then you can go and see what happened, right? For all the reports of ADAudit Plus, you can associate real-time alerts. And I'm just coming to the end of the webinar, but I remember also I told you that you can meet compliance mandates. So in the reports tab, just as So in the reports tab, just as we have a huge classification on the left-hand side on different report categories, you can see on the top right here, you have other classifications of the reports. So you have a classification specifically called compliance, which I've opened right here. And this helps you to very easily meet your compliance mandates, because what we've done is we give pre-packaged templates for different compliance mandates, and you can see these like SOX and HIPAA and PCI and so on, and all this information is made available for you, and you've seen how easy it is to extract information and give your auditors. So if I have SOX compliance, I have all these set of reports that the tool provides me in order for me to achieve different requirements of SOX. So I can just easily click a particular report like user management. And for just like how we saw in the couple of report examples that we looked at, I can very easily get the data for the particular time frame. You can see this. I've got all the data for user management so easily for the last 30 days. The same thing as all the other reports. I can export this to the format that I need. I can search for information within this for getting specific information about, say, a specific object modification. And really, all the information is neatly given to you. So if anytime someone asks for some specific information, you can see how easy it is going to be for you to furnish that information. And that essentially is the objective of a tool, because you need the tool to audit all these events and get real-time alerts so that your Active Directory is audited and secure. So that's pretty much the end of the webinar. I have the mandatory thank you slide also prepared, which I can just leave on the screen. So I think I've correctly just about taken exactly 40 minutes to give you a comprehensive walkthrough of auditing Active Directory. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope this session was useful for you to understand more insights about Active Directory auditing and how our tool can make a huge difference and help you with just that. So I'm not going to spend more time talking. You can ask your questions to us on the live chat. Bruce and I are available to answer any of your questions that you had about today's webinar. I also want to request you to fill up the feedback form so that you can tell us what you liked or didn't like, so that we can tweak our webinar agenda to make better webinars in the future. So once again, thank you so much for joining us. I've left my email ID on the screen, so you can also get in touch with me offline. And for now, Bruce and I are available on the live chat to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you have a great day.